Okay.
Donna, you go ahead.
Oh, I'm supposed to. You're absolutely right.
I'm
Hey
so excited.
guys, welcome to our first Leadership plus Wellness Impact Lab. Leaderships that unite and thrive in divisive times. I'm excited because we're going to be focusing on psychological safety, empathy, and resilience, and you're going to be able to walk away with actionable steps at the end of this.
Hi, I'm Crystal Egley. I'm going to introduce myself first. I'm a DEI consultant. I created inclusiveguide.com, which is like Yelp for inclusion. And I also just launched the DL Activist on Patreon, which is a place where people can share resources, chat with their community about strategies for diversity and inclusion. Tagline is it's not DEI 101, it's activism 101. And I'm really excited to be here to talk about wellness in leadership. LaDonna's the only person I've ever met that can convince me to self-care. So thanks for being here, LaDonna. A little bit about me. I grew up in Vermont. I'm adopted by white folks, so I've always been different. And I do acknowledge that mental wellness has not always been my strong suit. That sounds like I'm mentally unwell. But yeah, maybe a little bit. So I do struggle with frustration. I'm pretty emotional if you've ever met me, and you can hurt my feelings. I'm not one of those people where I'm like, you can't hurt me. Like people can hurt me. I am a bit sensitive. So that is something I need to make sure to do is like take care of myself while I do work through diversity and inclusion. And LaDonna really helped shift my viewpoint on mental wellness. She's not even probably going to mention it, but her app Ebony Notes is like affirmations for the Black community, and getting those popping up is just it makes my day. LaDonna, let's hear about you.
Hi, I'm LaDonna. I am an educator, 17 years in the game. I am a certified self-care life coach, and I am the founder of Ebony Notes. Ebony Notes is a personal wellness brand championing those women in leadership to prioritize self-care to help them thrive personally and professionally. I focus on wellness and supporting mental health in the Black community. And I also have a mobile app that Crystal just plugged. It's all about affirmations, have guided meditations, and so much more. Um, so how did I get here? Why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Well, it started with a struggle that I didn't even know that I was having. Um, Way back when, because my kids are like 12 and 15 now, I was struggling with postpartum depression and I was prescribed medication, but wasn't told why I was given those medications. And me being 20-year-old me, did not know the correct answers to the correct questions to ask. And I later found out that my husband was super worried about me, but he also didn't know like questions. And years later, I was like in therapy and it was like, oh my goodness, you were going through postpartum depression. And that's when I learned about seasonal depression because that's why I was in therapy. And these are things that I did not know about. And it just, I don't know, we just don't talk about therapy and don't talk about our feelings and all the different things. I grew up that way. But the big thing about seasonal depression is that it's common among Black women, and that's like something that I should have known. So I'm here because I want to shine light on things that I don't know that are simple yet complicated, and if we just know just a little bit about it, it will make our life a lot easier. I'm super excited to be here with Crystal because I mean, what better person? The eye expert, championing for like the little guy, all the different things. Um, but I'm from Arkansas. I've lived in Louisiana, and when I went to Colorado, everything in my world kind of shifted, and I was told that I was a diversity hire. And I've dealt with microaggressions, and I've dealt with all the different things that I did not know how to put a name on it when I was dealing with it. So I'm excited to be here with Crystal, and we're just gonna hop right into it. So, I love to hear from you, Crystal, how inclusive leadership unites teams by creating a sense of belonging and reducing division. Can you talk about how divisive climates can impact team morale and productivity?
I actually have no idea what you mean by divisive climates. I haven't been in one lately. Have you? I don't- so yeah, I mean, I feel like there's two camps. One is the world is getting more and more divisive right now. And the other one is we're just kind of figuring out right now that the world has always been divisive, or that there are like these things have always been happening. And we've always had wildly different viewpoints. And we're just now, like with the invent of the internet, able to access those opposing viewpoints and lifestyles, decisions, and who each other are, and be exposed to more types of diversity, because of how quickly we can access people on the internet now and different types of information. So I'm kind of in that latter camp. I don't actually think we're becoming more and more divisive. I just think that we're experiencing, um, we're not living in like really small villages anymore. We're not like only hanging out with people down the street. Now we can fly across the country. I could fly to you right now, and in my lack of knowledge about the deep South, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I'm very different from folks who grew up in the South, having grown up in Vermont, you know? And so I wouldn't
Mhm.
say that there's necessarily a division forming there. It's more like that has always been there. And now, like, airplanes and the internet bridge that gap. So as we become more interconnected and we're starting to, be able to meet other people and experiencing others, we have a choice of whether or not we are going to tighten those connections. Now that you can have people remote work from anywhere, so people from, let's just say, the North and the South, like you and me, LaDonna, we could work for the same company. We've been in the same rooms now because of
Right.
airplanes and the internet. And we're pretty different. We have different upbringings. We have different viewpoints. We come together on some really obvious ones. But like there's lots of things that each of us have different that we bring to the table. And one of the things, I'm just using you as an example, is like whether or not you get to know somebody at their core can really, really change how you think about their choices and their actions that they make. So if I didn't know anything about you at all, you could say the same things to me, and I might be like, LaDonna? But the more I got to get to know you over time, and yo, girl, we hung out, right? We hang. Like now you could make a mistake or you could not meet a deadline. And I'd be like, I know LaDonna, she works as a full-time teacher, right? Like she does like so many things. And she's got teenagers, she's got a whole life. Like now I have this like empathy starting to build because I know this background information about you, and it gives my brain some context and some awareness that you might have other things going on in your life. So that's why you didn't meet a certain deadline. So one of the other things that really contributes to some of this, like talk about divisiveness or how we are kind of separate, is if you have a certain identity, like a marginalized identity, for example, being a Black woman who's queer, and I work with other people who don't respect me as a basic human. If I know someone's racist or homophobic or something like that, and I know that they don't know me or they don't approve of me at my core, they don't respect me as who I am as a person, how are they going to respect the work that I put out? If I, how are they going to listen to me in a meeting with some idea about marketing strategy? Or how can I trust that they will, when I know that they just don't agree with who I am as a human, right?
Mhm.
That's just you. It's hard. It kind of shatters that confidence just going in, and then also from that other person's viewpoint, like honestly, I just can't make a connection for how there's a chance to respect somebody's like work output if you don't respect them as a human. So as a leader, like it is actually kind of important to keep a certain amount of distance between yourself and the folks you lead. Like some places I've worked where I've supervised folks, I was like, you know, there's people who all hang out, and that is great. That's a team. If it works for them, it works for them. But there's some points in leadership where you kind of do need to keep certain distance between the folks you lead, but you do need to know who they are, and you do need to get to know them at their core and come to respect like the broad range of identities to help establish a baseline of seeing them as a human and not just another cog in the wheel. And it's especially important for folks of marginalized identities who are hyper vigilant to knowing like when they are and aren't being seen. Like we know, right? Like we can tell when we're not being seen and respected as a full human. Um, so I once worked at a place where I had our entire team go through a leadership training, and one of the sessions focused around the question, what interpersonal quality is the largest predictor of a team's ability to cohesively work together as a unit? Okay, so what interpersonal, like a lot of people said, oh, being best friends or getting to know each other, things like that. And the answer was amity. And
Mm,
amity is defined as peaceful, friendly relations. It's not best friends, it's not
but
peers.
chemical.
Yeah, it's like somewhere in between. So like what's your there's a whole bunch of different types of those interpersonal relationships that can benefit a group. I do know places that work really well where everybody is best friends, but statistically, it's more likely that this amity level of interpersonal relationship is most likely for team success. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree because I have experienced like both sides of the like spectrum. I've been in a building where it was, I don't know, it's like, yay team, we're all together. We would go out to eat like every single one of us once a month and all the different things. And I've also been in spaces where everyone is divided.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, so I just think that I've never really considered like what level we need to be at in order to work as a unit. But I know it works best when we are like speaking to one another and we are um I don't know, feeling united, right? Because when the building or when wherever you work, when it's not a united team, everyone is like on their own island. You kind of don't know what's going on, and it's super lonely. So even to have a work friend where y'all are, y'all associates at work, we speak and we banter and all the different things. We're not enemies, but we're also not best friends, right? So I feel like that makes a difference. But like just to keep it going, when teams feel united, it just creates this ripple effect, right? In the workplace where they have like this harmony. Unity fosters like this sense of belonging, reducing stress and anxiety. So that's where like the wellness comes in, you know, because on the opposite of that, you can feel isolated and undervalued. When individuals feel accepted and valued for who they are and the contributions they bring, it like boosts their confidence. And you said exactly that, right? Um, they are more satisfied with their job and like their overall mental wellness is on the up and up because I mean, you have to think about the whole person, not just what they bring to the table, their them showing up to meetings on time and meeting deadlines and all the different things. You have to think about like the whole person. And I love like what you said about how you just have to have like a certain amount of distance where you know just enough to know like who exactly that person is, where they feel comfortable enough to come to you maybe when something is going on in their life. So in an inclusive environment, like I feel like team members are more likely to feel psychologically safe, which means that they're able to express themselves. They voice their concerns. They collaborate without fear. They know that they're in the judgment-free zone, and no one's gonna be like, "Oh, that was stupid," right? So, like, they have to be able to feel safe. And, like, overall, those positive interactions, they build, like, this trust and the stronger relationships, and they don't have to be best friends for that. I don't have to be a person's best friend to know that Jill has a dog that she's had since for, like, 5 years, and now he's sick and she's down about that, right? Because we talk on not necessarily a personal level. And so I just think that when it comes to leaders that prioritize their unity and their inclusivity, they not only create a better workplace, they also enhance their team's resilience and productivity, because that's the bottom line. Like, we're in this for for business, right? We want our companies or our teams to thrive. So, like, when they provide like that wellness and that inclusivity, those are the cornerstones of an effective leadership. Um, so, like I said, at the end of the day, it's all about that bottom line. I just want to know, did y'all know that it costs like 1.5 to 2 times more to hire a replacement for someone that you already have? Like, so it's just, I mean, cheaper to keep her, right?
Ooh, cheaper to keeper. I like that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's better for your budget or your bottom line if you keep your current employees, because it just costs so much to have to replace them. And if you have that inclusive workplace where you're looking at the whole person and you're focused on that unity, you don't have to always worry about that. I mean, so like fostering that and supporting their wellness in the workplace not only enhances like their satisfaction and they want to stay, it reduces the turnover. And that's not what it's all about, but that's an important factor when we're looking at it. So prioritizing your people, it isn't just the right thing to do, it's a smart business strategy. So, Crystal, you have an activity for us.
I do. I'm so excited. Okay, so we're going to do an activity together, and this means I want to get you to get a pen and a paper or open the notes on your phone or at least get ready to count on your fingers. Some things that we're going to think about. All right. So I'm going to give you a second. I'm going to stall. I'm going to talk slowly at the beginning of this so we all have time to grab a piece of paper or open the notes section or something like that. All right. But you can also just do this in your head if you don't have anything right now. If you are watching the recording of this, you can go ahead and pause this at any time and take your time a little bit longer than the folks who are on this webinar live. All right, so you're going to make two lists. The first list is going to be a list of things you know about your best friend at work. This could be at a current job, a previous job, someone you co-work with in a co-working space, but it has to be a coworker that you would defend to the death. So this is a person who, if you know they didn't have a report due on time, you'd be like, oh my gosh, well, obviously that's serious. Like something came up with their mom. I know they're having health problems. Like there's a good reason. All right. So I'm going to do this too. I'm going to get this piece of paper. And for example, I had a work best friend, Mike. Mike, if you're watching this, shout out. You know who you are. So I used to work with him. I know Mike's wife's name. I know their anniversary date. I know he's got 2 kids. I know he loves fishing and camping. He wears plaid every Friday. His grandma recently passed. Things like that. So I'm writing down every single thing I could think of about my friend Mike. If he's got a dog or a cat, where he went on his last vacation, things like, okay, this is starting to sound creepy, isn't it? But like, take every single thing you can, pause this if you need to, tally on your fingers how many things you can name about your work bestie. All right. Okay. So we're going to go on to list number 2. I'm stalling a little bit just for the people who are live. All right. Keep writing those down. All right. List number 2 is going to be to write down every personal thing you know about your least favorite coworker. Okay. This is someone who, if they didn't do the report on time, you'd be like, F that guy. Like they're always doing that, you know? So she never has her stuff done on time. Like, oh, they just get under your skin, right? So write down if you know their spouse's name, if you know their pet, if you know where they like all of these things about them, if you know where they live. Okay, again, it's sounding kind of creepy. I don't mean it like that, folks. So write down everything you can about them. What do they do for fun? All right. So for those of you, I'm sorry for those on the webinar who have a short amount of time for this. I'm going to show you my list that I made the other day. All right. This is my list. So this side is my list about Mike. All right. This side is Barry. Okay. Mike is one of my favorite people in the world. Barry is one of my least favorite. Okay. One column is much shorter than the other. When I first did this exercise in that leadership training, I did not see where it was going, and I was just absolutely floored about this subject. And the point here is getting to know people as individuals, really getting to know who they are, what they care about, and what makes them tick. That helps us get into a place where psychologically we're more likely to be on their side. All right. The more you know about a person, the more likely you are to show up for them when they need it. All right. So I've got some homework. This is going to be awful. I hated when somebody told me to do this. But for those of you whose least favorite person is someone you currently work with, this homework's for you. The next time you're in the same place or a same one-on-one meeting together, I want you to ask them just like one question. All right. You don't have to like sit around and chit chat with them forever, but ask one question like, what'd you do this weekend? And actually pay attention. All right. See if you can learn something about them. See if you can learn about something they like. Get to know them just a little bit. It's gonna be really weird and creepy if you sit around and you're like, tell me all about you. Don't do that. Just ask one question. All right. And then the next time you see them or you have a chance, ask them one more question and see what happens. You're not going to want to do this. I do not want to do this because your mind is pretty much made up so hard if you choose the right person. But I want you to look at the list that you just made. And if one of your sides is a lot longer and one of your sides a lot shorter, I want to think about that. Madonna, how is your list?
Um, I already have that person that I have to do this homework for because, yeah, there's like nothing there. And the thing is, doing this exercise and putting it in perspective and thinking about it that way, when you know more about a person, not only do you have like more empathy for this person, but you're more likely to give them grace, like you'll do with your best bud, because you know them almost on a personal level. You know a little more about them. Um, that was an excellent exercise. You know, I have the littles. I may need to do that with them when they don't like each other. So can you talk a little bit more about psychological safety as a core component in inclusivity, like allowing people to feel comfortable sharing ideas and concerns without that fear of judgment?
Yeah, so if you don't feel comfortable in a space, you're not going to want to put your best efforts into the space. Like, why would you, honestly, right? So, creating spaces of psychological safety, even if they're just small pockets around your office where somebody can, like, just be themselves, be who they truly are, and know that you're at least one person who isn't going to fight them on who they are at their core. Like, that means that then there's spaces where they can put the best self out there, their most vulnerable out of the box thinking, that we're always saying like the most growth happens outside of your comfort zone, right? But like if you're not even in a comfort zone to begin with, like that actually gets a little bit shaky of a foundation. Okay, so as a wellness advocate, like how do you think leaders can create environments where teams feel safe enough to speak up and share openly, especially when it comes to addressing challenges or disagreements?
So that's a great question. because psychological safety plays a crucial role in supporting mental wellness within the team, of course, right? When individuals feel psychologically safe, they are more likely to express their thoughts, ideas, and concerns, and they just know they're not going to be judged. They know that they're not going to get their rejection. They just know that no one's going to come for them and try to retaliate against them, all because they had an opinion. So this sense of security, it reduces like all the bad things in the workplace, like the anxiety, but it also boosts confidence. It creates that environment where the team members can focus on their work and collaborate effectively rather than just having that negative energy, or they're always in fight or flight mode, because they feel safe. Okay. So leaders are can actively foster these psychological safe spaces through like simple steps. It's not anything huge. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort, but it builds this culture of trust and support. The first one is having an open door policy, allowing employees to share their concerns and ideas freely. It just signals that their input is valued and that they are taken seriously. Um, you can like schedule some one-on-one time, or you have it like I don't know, like intentionally you're going to set aside some time where you're allowing individuals to come to you and share their concerns or their ideas or things that they have going on. These check-ins, like I say, that you should like schedule them so that it's intentional and then they know what's coming. um Leaders should also practice active listening because we have to lead by example. um, it's just showing that you accept those diverse, I lost my train of thought, diverse perspective from everyone on the team. Now, Crystal, can you share about empathy as a critical skill for inclusive leaders, helping bridge understanding across diverse experiences?
Yes, I can, Madonna. And when you said you lost your train of thought, I was like, my girl has so much going on in her life. Of course she did, because I have. I know a lot about you. I know how your day was. I was like right
Heard
there with
footsteps coming up the stairs, and I thought someone was gonna come in here, and like
you.
that's where my
You're like, so one of the things I want to go back to is something you just mentioned, which is active listening skills. A lot of people think that's just like listening while someone else is talking, but one of the biggest things people don't even realize they're doing a lot. This girl takes a lot took a lot of work right here. Me myself pointing fingers back. Because I used to listen with the intent to respond. So I still do this sometimes. It's something I'm really working on. A lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. So that, for example, that might be like if you're telling me about having a bad day, and in my head, like I'm just like, oh, I could have told her how to handle that situation, or I'm going to tell her about my bad day afterwards. Like I'm listening to respond. So the next time you have a conversation with someone where they're like confiding in you about something, like see if you are listening just to listen and absorb, or if you're listening to respond. One of the things that I do with one of my best friends is if she's like, can I tell you about my day? I will say first, do you want me to, like, how do you want me to listen? Do you want me to give you advice at the end? Do you want me to just sit here and absorb? And I asked her in advance, like, what she wants so that I can be in the right framework. But if you're not doing that with everybody, that's okay. But you don't always have to, like, listen, ready to say something afterwards. So check yourself first. See if you're one of those folks. Again, like me constantly. I constantly have something to say about everything. So listen without the intent to respond. The next thing is believing what the person is telling you about their experience. So, LaDonna, how many times have you been like, I felt like this thing was sexist or racist. And someone's like, it
No.
wasn't, right? Like, okay, first of all, were you there? Like, were you like, are you an expert who is watching this happen? Like, how would you know? Also, I said I felt like it was. I didn't say for sure, 100%. It made me feel like that, right? So, if I said I'm angry, right, and someone's like, you don't have a reason to be angry. Okay, but I am like so believe what the person's telling you, especially if it's about how they feel. Like they're like I used to have a boss who like I was like there was such blatant racist things happening to me at work and he would be like, "That's not racist." And I'm like, "Oh my okay. Okay, you're not even like hearing this from the perspective of someone who's had these experiences their entire lives." So then one of the things that is like if they didn't feel safe, especially if someone says that they didn't feel safe. There is zero reason for you to counter that with, but you were safe. They said they didn't feel like that. And that's a very serious emotion to not feel safe, right? And so you want to take those things very seriously. And you don't always have to like leap to fix something. Again, you're listening for understanding. What about it made you feel unsafe? Right? That's a great follow up question as opposed to, no, you were safe or something like that. So if you need to get clarification because your brain just can't get off the subject, ask a follow up question and then listen and believe their answer. And then sometimes understand that sometimes people are just talking to be heard. People of marginalized identities, I hate to say this, I'm like used to not having immediate solutions. Solutions for things that are racist are really long term problems to solve oftentimes. And so if something is built into a system, I'm not telling you because I expect you to change it by 5 o'clock p.m. Like sometimes I'm just telling somebody else so that they're aware. Sometimes there is an immediate solution that can be had or an immediate need. If somebody's using slurs or being really aggressive or physically violent, like absolutely. But sometimes if somebody's talking about bigger systems, they're not expecting you to solve it right away. You could ask them if they're expecting that. But a lot of times folks are just talking like so that there is an awareness or they can find out if you're somebody safe in the office that they can go to with that issue again. And they just want somebody looking out for them, having their back. So some of the things to do instead of offering solutions, ask like, do you want me to brainstorm solutions with you? Before just offering the brainstorm of solutions. Do you just want me to listen? Is there an action you want me to take? And then one of the last things that I can't tell you how valuable this is. It can feel really weird, but repeat back what they said for understanding. So being like, is it okay with you if I repeat what I think I heard to make sure I'm understanding? Half the time they didn't get it. That's okay. Half the time when I try to repeat back something for understanding, the person I'm talking to is like, "No, Chris, you've got that. Nope, that's not what I said." And I've missed some things again because I'm the kind of person who doesn't innately listen for understanding. I'm like listening to respond low key. So repeating it back can help both people, um, and that can just also that in itself can help alleviate if somebody does repeat back to you what you said. Oh my gosh, it can feel like such a burden is lifted off already just knowing someone's in your corner. That's a really great empathy skill in general, an empathy building skill. And if you're not great at having that empathy already, if that's not at your core, those are just some like practical things you can do to build logistical empathy, right? If it's not coming up from your heart and bubbling forth from your brain, you can build logistical empathy by taking those steps and asking those questions and getting that deeper understanding. LaDonna, all right, I got one for you. How can leaders use empathy to not only build stronger connections with their teams, but also support mental wellness in a meaningful way?
Oh, Crystal. Empathy is such a powerful tool that directly supports the mental wellness in the workplace. And when leaders demonstrate empathy, employees feel seen, they feel heard, and they feel validated for who they are and their experiences that they bring to the table. This recognition, it fosters this sense of belonging and emotional safety and reduce stress. Because I say stress every single time because we want them to have reduced stress when they're like working under us or when we're leading them, right? And it creates this environment where employees can thrive not only professionally for you and for what your goals that you have, but also personally, because I'm going to stress that we're thinking about that the whole person, not just what they do for us when they're clocked in or what have you. Empathy allows leaders to build a deeper connection with their team members, and it helps them to better understand like those individual needs. I'm big on not giving everybody the same thing, but giving everybody what they need. Because just because one person needs something doesn't mean the person across the hall needs the same thing, right? What is that? Not fair, but you know what I'm saying. What is it?
Equity versus equality.
Equity. Yes,
Equality.
you better bring it.
Equality is giving people the same thing. Equity is giving different people different things.
Right. So not only do you just understand exactly what they need, you understand their individual challenges and what motivates them. This understanding not only improves the morale, because we don't want to be in a doomy and gloomy place, but it also empowers the employees to be more engaged and more productive. They're going to know that you value what they bring, and they're going to know that you value their well-being, and that is being prioritized while you are leading them. So we're going to beat this down into the ground, right? That one of those ways, not only are we practicing that active listening, so that's what 3 times active listening, but you can also have like those open-ended questions. I love that, like Crystal said, when someone is like coming to you to say things, you ask them up front, like, okay, so what do you need from me in this moment? Like, do you want me to respond or do you want me to just listen? I feel like that's important, but also adding if they do want you to respond, or if this is one of those situations where they need a conversation and they want to brainstorm, that you have those open-ended questions along with that active listening. Some examples of that is, what is one thing I can do to better support you? Because like you're going to be guessing when that person that you're trying to support is right there. Or what challenges are you facing right now? And how can I help? It's as simple as that. Just asking the person that you're trying to support what they need. So these questions invite like an honest dialogue where that it shows that you as a leader, you genuinely care about their well-being. So we talked about active listening, but we didn't really describe what active listening was. So when we are active listening, because I do want, this is like, I want y'all to go and like practice this, right? So when you're active listening, you maintain eye contact, you avoid interrupting, and you paraphrase what you hear to ensure that you are understanding. And that's exactly what Crystal said. And sometimes when you are paraphrasing, you may find out that you didn't hear it right. And we want to make sure that they feel heard, understood, and they feel valid in like their feelings and everything. So active listening, it demonstrates that respect and the attentiveness that builds that trust and encourage those team members to be able to come to you if you have that open door policy. So what's the point in having an open door policy if no one's coming through the door? Like you're never going to learn anything. So over time, like consistent empathy practices create that culture of care, strengthening both that mental wellness and that team cohesion because we're trying to build those united teams. Now, Crystal, I have a question for you about self-care.
Oh God. No.
You and I have talked about this a lot. Can you talk about how you incorporate self-care as a DEI practice and how you encourage other leaders to model self-care for their teams?
Okay, I don't know about modeling nothing, but I really struggle with self-care. Like, I get, like, borderline triggered when people talk about self-care sometimes. I'm like, "What do you mean like, when people are like, "Oh, self-love," I'm like, "I don't really like myself that much." Like, what am I supposed to do? Take myself out for a spa day? I don't wanna hang out with me. Like, it's really, really, really hard for me. And in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, there is a lot of that, taking it back to the top, divisiveness and people like not recognize it. Like, I'm literally teaching people a lot that don't think racism is real or don't believe or believe that like marriage is between a man and a woman. And I'm like, I am constantly in rooms where I'm trying to convince people that I am a real person, right? And
Mhm.
so it's really hard not to just get stuck in a negativity spiral when my job circles around convincing people that I'm a person uh, who should have rights and things. So it's so hard to like pull myself out of those situations or those sets of feelings. But I am actively working on it. I take walks sometimes. One of the things that I learned from you is not necessary, but I really loathe when people are like, go to the gym every day, eat like 10 colored vegetables every day, like get massages once a week. I'm like, girl, you got massage every week money. Can I have some of that? Like, where is that money tree that you are going to? Like, shake it for me. I don't know how people like there's some folks who are like, we have the same amount of hours in the day. And I'm like, I'm convinced we don't. So sometimes self-care is as little as, you know how you said eye contact earlier? Sometimes self-care for me, because eye contact is hard, I'll tell the person in front of me, like, I'm not going to make eye contact with you during this conversation. Are you okay with that? I promise I'm still paying attention. And because it can be really hard for me. And so sometimes, like, I find these little pockets where I can just advocate for myself, or I'll text my friend that I'm about to go on a walk and then text her when I get home. And she just like cheers me on like I just ran a marathon. And I'm like, girl, it's a 20-minute walk and I stopped to pick up dog poop 3 times. But like, she'll cheer me on like I literally did a triathlon. And she'll be like, all caps, emojis, party emojis. And so honestly, okay, the Zoom just popped up and said playing music. I don't know if you see that. So it's just sometimes those things are like these little tiny pockets for me, but for where my starting line is, they're really important and they make a big difference. I stretch. Sometimes when my camera's off during meetings, I'll knit or I'll color. I play Candy Crush a lot. My brain just needs to shut off. I intentionally addicted myself to Candy Crush about a month ago. Um, like on purpose. I was like, I need something that will turn my brain off. So I got Candy Crush and I will play that intentionally when I need to like just get my brain to de-stress. So for some people, it might look like no phone time, right? I can't do that. I can't do that. So it might be for me, it like looks a little bit different than somebody who might have more resources or might not be a consultant. They might have a regular 9 to 5 and not like 3 different contracting jobs. So that's one thing I learned is it can look really different for everybody and to not discount the small amounts of self-care that I do have available to me. I did manage to change some unhealthy patterns. I end meetings on time now. So sometimes, okay, get this. Sometimes if you're on a meeting with me and it's running long, I'll be like, I have to jump off to go to another meeting. And I don't have another meeting. So respecting my own time is one of my forms of self-care that I really champion myself on and I cheer about. Again, I'll text my friend and I'll be like, I just did this thing where I said I had a meeting, but I didn't. Because I'm not actually that great about advocating for myself just because. So again, it can look like different things for different people. And as a leader, I've recently learned that people look up to me, which to me is bonkers. But people do, like people will write in and be like, I really admire blah blah blah. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did you get the right email address? But like as a leader, as people who are leading things, you're on this Zoom, you're watching this webinar, has the word leader in it. I'm leading this webinar. I barely think of myself as a leader, but you don't underestimate how many people are watching you and the things that you do and the choices you make. Like people are seeing those and they're seeing that as an example of what they should be doing or could be doing at work. And if you yourself are leading yourself to burnout, you're leading others to burnout as well. And that really doesn't help anybody. The work still needs to get done. So I've got a friend, she takes a nap every single day. Okay. She has a 9 to 5, works from home. Somehow she manages to take a nap every single day. She still gets her work done. So I'm not saying like go do anything except your job and your responsibility. That works for her. For me, it's a 20-minute walk. For her, it's a 20-minute nap, right? And
Inspired.
yeah, and I recommend if you are leading your department, starting to judge about no, what is it when you like evaluate like what's the judge work form of judge when of that move to a system where you can evaluate folks on their work completed and using that as a model as opposed to insisting people are just at their desk from 9 to 5 or 7 to 7, depending on where you are they getting their work done? Can you move to a model where that's how you evaluate your employees and your staff, as opposed to making them sit at their desk and watching how often their mouse moves on their computer? But like with data, as leaders, we're often juggling so many responsibilities. How can you tell me more about? I just need more. Okay. How do we prioritize self-care without feeling like we're neglecting our teams or our goals? Like we still have to get that work done, right?
Now, Crystal, that is a $1,000,000 question, and I may have the answer to it. Who knows? But reinforcing the importance of self-care as a leader is essential because, as I mentioned before, we have to lead by example. And as a leader, it often comes with immense pressures and responsibilities. And when you prioritize your well-being, they not only like perform better, but you as a leader, you're modeling this behavior to your team that wellness is valued, wellness is encouraged. We want you to take care of you. We do not want you to burn out, right? We want you to be the best you that you can be. And if you're not taking care of yourself, that is definitely not going to be the thing that happens. So effective self-care for leaders, it starts with practical strategies that can be integrated into the busiest schedule, right? You can have like a moment for every single, I don't know, minute on your schedule. But the first step is to not do that and set some clear boundaries. I see that that's something that you said that you do, even though, I mean, it's a roundabout way, but when you tell people, hey, when a meeting is going too long or whatever, when you tell a person, hey, I have to hop, I have another meeting, that's a form of setting boundaries. And that's a foundational practice, okay? So you need to protect your time and you have to delegate effectively and not overcommit. And also taking regular breaks, like your friend taking her nap every single day, or you taking your walk every single day. It doesn't have to be for like 5 hours or even a full hour. Those 20 minutes, it will do wonders to prevent that burnout and to improve focus. Like people don't understand that when you're boom, 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 boom all day long, like your thoughts get fuzzy. It takes you longer to get tasks done. If you just take that moment, it just brings that sense of clarity and it improves your focus. So, another one is like super simple. You can simply step away from your desk just to stretch or enjoy a moment of silence and nothing. That's my absolute favorite because it just helps me to just clear. It's like you turning off the noise in your brain. I'm afraid of to like to share this with you guys, but if you were to look at my computer, I have like all these different tabs open, and I joke. I actually have like four different windows and a ton of different tabs, and I joke that that's what my mind is like. But when I take a moment to step away, I it kind of like closes all the tabs. I guess that's like a good little
Love that.
right. So now I have this quick exercise. It is 30 seconds. So you can take a 30-second mindfulness reset. And the way it works is that you pause whatever you're doing. And if you're in a space where you can close your eyes, you close your eyes. You take a deep breath through your nose, and that's for like for 1 4 count. And then you hold it for 4. Please don't pass out. And then you would release it like through your mouth, a slow exhale, a 6 count, and then you just take a moment to breathe silently and repeat like a calm affirmation. The example that I have is that I am centered, I am capable, if you want to use that. So it's only 30 seconds. We're going to do this together. So if you can, I need everyone to close your eyes. And now you're going to take a deep breath through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now exhale slowly through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, as you return to your normal breath, focus on the sensation of your breathing and repeat your personal affirmation. That was less than a minute.
It felt like forever. I was in a hurry to breathe. Like, what is wrong? God, I need to do that.
So, Crystal, it was it was 30
Not be
seconds.
a leader in this topic. I need help.
So this short mindfulness practice, it was only 30 seconds. It can be done in between meetings. It can be done in a moment of stress. It can be done whenever you need to just take a moment to reset. So it helps you reduce tension, it improves emotional regulation, and it refocuses your energy. So that's just one way for me to prove that it does not take a lot to prioritize self-care in your daily life. And I'm just gonna keep saying it, like when leaders support their own mental wellness, it just cultivates that clarity and stamina. You're leading by example and you're inspiring your team. And Crystal, you said that you do not know who's watching you and what they're taking away from your actions. Now, Crystal, you're not the self-care person. I know you struggle with it. You said that you were like trying to breathe. What?
It was hard. Like it felt like forever. Like, so one of the things I do is slightly less formal than that. Like every time I go to the bathroom, after I wash your hands, people. I take an extra second and I just stand there sometimes. So it's like hard for me to do like structured awareness activities kind of or like things like that we just walked through. It's actually really hard for my brain. When you're counting, I'm like, get to 4, get to 4. Like I could just hear my own echo chamber in my head. rushing me, right? Which I think means I might need to do this a little bit more often. And so one of the things that I do, because I'm not quite there yet to be able to do it all the time, is I'll just take a moment and just stand and like not even try to do stuff. And then sometimes when I get around folks like you, or when I can be that intentional, like then I try to up my game a little bit. I try to push it a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, I can count, and I do the 4 count sometimes, and it's just interesting. Like right now, my brain was like, this is hard.
Oh, well, I think what you do after you use the restroom, I think that's a good practice because you are taking a moment to reset. So if you're one of those people who like that structured time, it doesn't work, like what you do is perfect.
Girl, I'm gonna push it tomorrow. I'm gonna do this at least twice tomorrow though, because it's hard, it makes me like aware that I should like that should 30 seconds, like no matter how busy I am, 30 seconds. Like I got that, you know? And so tomorrow
Right.
I'm gonna try to, can you text me? I'm gonna try to do it twice tomorrow. Can you be my
Oh,
account?
you're getting ahead of yourself because I already was like, okay, scheduling 2 texts for
Okay.
Crystal. How much time are you
Okay.
doing
Bet.
today?
So everybody out there, get you an accountability partner. LaDonna's gonna check in on me tomorrow. Make sure I've done it twice. All right. You heard it here.
But like I just want to move to this next thing because you're like the best cheerleader. Like you know how to hype people up, you hype yourself up. Can you talk a little more about that positive reinforcement for teams?
Yeah, so some things are really hard. Like going inward is really hard for me for mental wellness, but going outward for other people is like a lot easier for me. And there's this thing that I heard that I wanna talk about when doing like positive reinforcement. So no one likes being told they're wrong, right? Like so sometimes people are just wrong. People are just wrong. If somebody's like again, I do DEI consulting. So if somebody's like saying things that are overtly racist or sexist or ableist, I'm like, that is just wrong, right? But nobody likes being told that directly. One of the things I like to do is positively reinforce when people are right. So I do that enough times. Then when I point out that somebody like said something that was like inappropriate or misuse of language or potentially harmful, they know that I'm also celebrating their wins. So there's this little anecdote that I like to share with folks. So let's say there's this teenager, right? You're a parent of a teenager. You can envision it. If you're not,
Right.
um, but the teenager's late for dinner every night, right? And everybody else is at the table. You're always waiting for them, and you're like, "Oh, you're always late. You're always late. You're always late." And then they come on time, right? It's rare, but they come on time once, and you're like, "Oh, now you're on time, huh?" And you're yelling at them for being on time, right? Okay, so they got yelled at if they were wrong, and they got yelled at if they were right. What makes it so that they would come to dinner on time if they're going to get the same response either way, right? So if you have positive reinforcement, even if it's somebody who's constantly like messing up, not meeting a certain standard, don't like really avoid being like, oh, so now you're getting it. And I love focusing on positive reinforcement because then it really does make it a lot easier for them to receive criticism or correction, if they know you're the kind of person who's always championing them. So oh my gosh, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. I was like, what does that mean? Does it need to be a big celebration? It doesn't have to, like lots of people are actually uncomfortable with like being overtly celebrated even in front of folks. So it doesn't have to be like, hey, you could just be like, hey, I heard you use that person's pronouns correctly today. Good job. Like I noticed. Like it could just be something little, it could be on the side. But reinforcing positive behaviors is really great. And if you're in a Zoom or something like that, you could just send them a little side chat, send them a DM. You could be like, hey, great point. And it just really helps, like, again, when you do have something critical to say, it can keep them in that positive mindset, knowing that you're going to go back and like championing them. So speaking of like championing with words and language, can you talk about affirmations? This is like my favorite topic since I ever met you. Can you talk about affirmations as a wellness tool? Like, what are affirmations? Why do they work? How are they a wellness tool? Tell everybody because I love them as of meeting you.
Affirmations are my jam, but I did want to like backtrack. So no confetti in the box, right? Like don't
Oh,
send.
yeah, you don't need to like release doves or anything.
So I'm such a big, yeah.
Well, you
Okay.
can if it's me.
I'll keep
Like
the
if it's
confetti. It's okay. I'll keep
with me, you can do whatever you want. Just know your audience.
it. So affirmations. Oh my goodness. Like I said, they're my jam. Because they're just simple. And for them to be so simple, they are so powerful. And leaders can use this as a tool to foster like that mental resilience, both for themselves and their teams. Because I'm gonna say it again, you have to lead by example. If they see that you're using the affirmations, that's going to encourage your teams to use the affirmations. And another thing for leaders, they can integrate this into like their daily routines. They can integrate these within like their meetings by having maybe there is a weekly affirmation that we have as a team, or you have an affirmation board physical or affirmation board digital where people can add to it. Because when we use affirmations as a leadership tool, it's not just about that personal growth. It's about setting the tone for the entire workplace. You can have them plastered everywhere. You can have like a different person at the beginning of the meeting to like bring a new affirmation and encourage the entire team to kind of like repeat after them. Let's say this together, and this is our affirmation for the week or for the month or for the day. But for it to be words, it is so powerful. It like shifts your mindset. It boosts your mood. It does so many things to just be words. Okay.
Madonna, can I interrupt for a second? Not
Yeah.
active listening over here. I just realized while you were talking that my favorite poem is a list of affirmations. I have Maya Angelou's Still I Rise printed on a canvas print in my bedroom, and I just realized as you were talking that that poem is just a long list of affirmations, and it just blew my mind while you were talking right now. I always learn something.
That's amazing. And it's a perfect example on how you can find affirmations like everywhere, right? It could be a poem or a song or something that someone says in your favorite show. So, um,
Sorry, I threw you off track because my mind was just blown by what you said. Apologies.
I'm trying to think, what did I say and what did I not say? But
I know
anywho,
you're amazing.
you can you can create affirmations that like align with like the team goals, or you can task or challenge your team to create personal affirmations that go along with like their personal goals, and professional affirmations that align with their professional goals. Now, if you do not know where to start when it comes to these affirmations, Ebony Notes does offer wellness workshops, and I do have one that is focused on positive affirmations for self-empowerment. And I also have one for like stress. So you can check out those affirmations, and Crystal is going to drop that
Put them
link
in the
in
link.
the
Or
chat.
in the chat. I'm going to put them in the chat. And we'll
Absolutely.
have them also, if you're watching a recording, we'll put them below. We'll put all the links that we're about to mention because we're wrapping up near the end. We're going to put everything that we mentioned from here on out, all the resources in a description below the video.
So some examples that I have that a leader might adopt and share as an affirmation are: I lead with clarity, empathy, and strength. Together, we overcome challenges and thrive. I am capable, and my efforts create positive change. Those are all perfect that you can either use individually, like for yourself, or you can share those with the team. So when you use these affirmations and you use them consistently, you as a leader, you not only build like a mental resilience, but you also empower your team to develop a positive growth oriented mindset because I'm all over that growth mindset. So Crystal, do you have oh, just kidding. Haha. You already answered this. You are ahead, girl. Because I was gonna ask you, do you have any personal affirmations that you currently use? And it's a whole poem.
I do. I also have as part of a meditation track, or I have like a short meditation playlist. I have to do things in shorter spurts because I have ADHD and I can't just listen to one meditation track for too long. So I actually have a 3-track playlist that's like 2 minutes of something, and it starts out with Maya Angelou's "Still I Rise" being spoken out loud by her. It is beautiful. Look it up on Spotify, y'all. And then there's a guided meditation track for like 3 minutes, maybe. And it's a woman talking. And the mantra through that one is by letting go, it all gets done. By letting go, it all gets done. That is something
I like that.
antithetical to my way of thinking. I do not believe that consciously. I do not do not live that way, but I've had that one on this track for a really long time. By letting go, it all gets done. Um,
I just,
Still not sure it's
mm,
true after 3 years. But I do listen to it on repeat. And then the third track is a short, like, I don't know, someone like doing something on crystal bowls, like just sounds and stuff. So it starts out with the poem, the by letting go, it all gets done, mantra, guided meditation track, and then the sound. So that's kind of what I do sometimes, maybe once a month. It's about as much as I get in there, but those are some of my favorites.
Okay, so like for those who are with us live and those who are tuning in, maybe at a later date, if you do not know where to start when it comes to affirmations, Ebony Notes is a great resource for affirmations. The mobile app is free to download. Starting in the general category, that has like just affirmations that are fitting for anyone is great. And then, I mean, once you get to the point where you want to dive deeper, you can look at goal setting or you can look at just other things like entrepreneurship or letting go or things changing, all the different things shifting. But yeah, so um, I know that this is it. We're getting ready to wrap it up with some Q&A. Go ahead,
We got
Crystal.
some questions in the chat here, and I'm going to read the first one aloud. First, we have a question from Amber. How can you truly get to know someone without being invasive? There are people whose experiences I want to understand, but I feel like questions about their identity might come across as invasive. Yes. Uh, First, definitely don't go up to a random coworker. I'm going to take this one because I talked about it earlier. Uh, Definitely don't go up to a random coworker and be like, I'm trying to get to know you. How was it coming out being gay? Like, don't do that. Uh, please don't. Just start by asking what they like to do for fun or something like that and go from there. They seem to welcome the question and they're like excited that you asked, then you can ask another one. If they're wary and uncomfortable, just say thank you and ask a different question a different day. So, like, definitely read the room as much as possible. If the person's like leaning in and talking faster and excitedly and says more than one or two things, like, go ahead and ask them a follow-up question. But if they're like, my weekend was good, yeah, no. Or if they're like, I don't know, go to the movies, that's a sign that they're probably not ready for more. Wait a week, wait a week, ask one more question, see what happens, but definitely just don't start directly in with invasive questions about like who they are. And one of the things too I want to mention is like you don't have to understand people like too well to start respecting their differences. You don't have to agree with people to like treat them with basic human decency and kindness. So for example, like pronouns, I get a lot of questions about that. People are like, I don't understand non-binary pronouns, or they don't understand how someone could be transgender. Like they don't get it. But you don't actually really need to like deeply understand complex things about another person to start respecting them and treating them how they are asking you to treat them. I think there's a beautiful thing in like releasing the like desperate need to be like, I need to understand before I start changing anything. And it's like, well, you can just start respecting someone now and like try to understand more later. Um, yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers, Amber. Do you want to do the next question, the other question that we have in the chat, LaDonna?
Absolutely. My screen is all over the place, so do you mind reading it?
Yeah, I'll read that one. I got it right here. This is from Regis. I'm stuck in the grind and I don't have any money for self-care activities. Mood! Yes, that's me too. Hey, I'm stuck in the grind too. What do you suggest I do first to get myself out of the grind culture habit? Also, I
Well,
have that question too.
you need the answer. Okay. And I might have the answer for you. I have a starting point. That first thing is that you need to shift your mindset. Um, and like you don't need money for self-care activities. Just now on this webinar, Crystal says her friend takes a nap. Crystal takes a walk. I just gave you a couple where you can step away from your desk and stretch. Have a 30-second mindset reset. So like there are all these different things. Like I also just did like a self-care challenge where one of the activities was to make sure that you drink enough water in the day or to do a digital detox or like move your body today. So, what is one of your favorite activities? Move your body. I know for me, I like to play Just Dance with my kid. Get the, get the blood pumping. But so I just want you to know that it does not cost a dime to prioritize your self care. Another one I have is like just a suggestion. If you're a reader and you've ever heard of, or maybe you haven't heard of Rest is Resistance, is by Trisha Hershey. If you're a reader, read that. That'll help you get out of that hustle, what was it? Grind culture
Culture.
mindset. And if you're not a reader, listen to it. Um, and it doesn't even cost anything for you to do that because if you go to your library, you can check it out for free. Like, so it's still not going to cost you anything um to grab this book. But I say that you just take small steps by reframing your thought. For instance, if you want to, maybe you have like a designated no non-negotiable shutdown time. Like I'm going to turn my computer off at this time every single day, or I'm going to leave the office at this time every single day. And you track that and you actually do it. And maybe you do it for an entire month and you treat yourself with something small, like maybe your favorite drink from a local like coffee shop or maybe a little staycation situation. I don't know what your pockets look like, but but I find that when you reward yourself, it just makes a big difference. So you start small, do the thing, and reward yourself afterwards. There's like something scientific about that. I cannot think of the person's name, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that book. And for the Black folks watching, my favorite quote from that book, paraphrased quote from that book is, my ancestors didn't work that hard just so I couldn't take breaks today. It was like something like that. But yeah, our ancestors didn't do all of that stuff that like just and all of the they didn't go through the civil rights movement and emancipation just so that we could keep working like 12 hours a day without taking 30 seconds to like do a deep breathing exercise, you know? All
Right.
right. So, LaDonna, what have you got there up on that screen?
So this is our website to show more about the different impact labs that we will be having coming soon. We do not have any dates on our calendar just yet, but they are coming. Crystal, have you already dropped the link in
I'm
the
about to. I just DM'd it to you by accident. Let me get it in there for everyone. And again, we'll put this at the bottom of the video for those watching the recording.
So I suggested you bookmark this because we will have a series of impact labs coming that focuses on leadership and wellness, and this is the spot to just stay in the know. If you click on the link, stay informed and join our list, or the link that's in the chat or below if you're watching this at a later date. You can join our list so that you'll be the first to know when we schedule our next Impact Lab.
All right. We also have a feedback form that is really important because we don't have some dates for this. As of December 12th, 2024, we don't have dates set, and we really want to make sure that we are tailoring this programming for you and y'all, and we're making each one better and better. Please fill out this form for those of you on here right now. Watching this later, don't fill out the form. This link isn't going to be below. This is for the people watching live. They're going to help you in the future to receive the best content from us. And we're going to hopefully do a better job every time. LaDonna, let's find out what other labs we're talking about here. What else are we doing?
So, what I have here on the screen is some different topics that we plan to dive into. You are live and in person or watching this at a later date, leaderships that unite, thriving in divisive time. But we also have some other things that we have coming, inclusive leadership 101, building safe and inclusive workspaces, stress management and self-care for leaders in high environments, data-driven DI, and trauma-informed leadership. You can also click this link if you would like something tailored to your team.
Yes. All right. Yeah, we can definitely come up with programming that's specific to you and the place you are working in. Reach out to us anytime. And we hope that you can find us. Speaking of finding us, I'm going to drop some links in the chat of where you can find me. And then we're going to drop some links in the chat of where you can find LaDonna. So for me, I've got a Patreon community that I'm building called the DL Activists, where the biggest feature is group chats, and you can talk to other folks in different communities. So like if you work in retail, if you work in education, if you work in the healthcare sector, there's different community chats so that you can keep conversations going with folks that are working in similar industries as you. And you can talk, you can ask for advice. You can, oh wait, we had one more question come up. Speaking of asking for advice, we'll get to that last question in just a second from Josh. You can talk to people and share things that are successes. I just saw a question in there about funding state governments when DEIA, diversity, equity, inclusion, and access work is on the chopping block coming up in 2025. People are worried about funding for those. I saw a message in a chat in the government chat today. Somebody wondering how to keep those initiatives going when funding is about to get cut from the feds for all that work. And you can pool resources there and just really learn from each other. You can find more out at patreon.com/DLactivist. You can follow us on Instagram at the DL Activist. Inclusive Guide, that's Yelp for inclusion. You can rate businesses on how you're treated in regard to your identity. You can go to inclusiveguide.com, follow that on at Inclusive Guide, and my name on Instagram, Crystal Egley. You can follow me there. LaDonna, share where people can find you, and then we'll get to that one last question from Josh right at the end.
Okay. And we both dropped. Okay.
Oh, we
Just
both?
The links are in the chat to get on Crystal's Patreon and her IGs. Um, for me, I do have the link for my mailing list. So just stay in the loop with what Ebony Notes is doing by joining the mailing list. I am on Instagram at Naturally LaDonna as well as at ebonynotes.co. And like that's me on the internet. Also LinkedIn is probably a great place. Just search LaDonna Welch. I feel bad because I forgot to put that there, but if you're watching at a later date, you'll have a link for all of those things.
Same with me. LinkedIn, just search my name, Crystal Egley. All right. And our last question from Josh. How do you relate to an employee that is intense and has little sense of boundaries? Okay, if you're talking about me being a little intense and having sense of boundaries. No. So LaDonna, I'll give that one to you first. How do you handle an employee that's intense and has little sense of boundaries? How do you like make sure to take care of yourself before handling that employee?
Um, so I personally, I feel like it is very important for you to have those boundaries. So if they are in your space, you say, "Hey, excuse me, can you back up? That makes me uncomfortable." And I think you need to speak on those feelings and let them know that that is your boundary because as quiet as it's kept, we teach people how to treat us. Um, so if they are that type of person, you have to tell them how to treat you. And the first step to that is setting those clear boundaries. When they do something that goes against your wishes and your boundaries and what makes you comfortable, you speak on it and you speak on it right away.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of hard for me sometimes 'cause I don't want to offend the other person. I really want to be nice all the time. I want to give time, I want to give energy. But I've recently realized that that time and energy comes from my time and energy, not just theirs. So I'm not just giving them some excess, I'm also giving them part of me, part of the work I'm supposed to be doing. One of the things that I learned how to do pretty well at one point. I think I should do a refresher. Is I learned this from a friend. She was like, LaDonna, I'm really interested in what you're talking about right now, and I would love to keep going, but I can't do that right now. Is there a different time that we could pick this back up? So she would say to me like, "Hey Crystal, this is really interesting. I'm like super interested in what you're saying." Like that was the first thing she would say, and then she'd be like, "But I have to go do something else really quick. Can we come back to this at another time?" And most of the time, the person would never come back to it, right? Like, but the key there is like if you are an overly nice person like myself, just making sure the other person feels reassured like, hey, this is actually really important, like this is real, that's actually really interesting, or something like that, but I have to go do something else, can we come back to it? And maybe you can come back when you are more ready to you do have more energy, you do have more time, and it's a little bit more on your terms. So that's one trick that I learned. All right, this has been wonderful, Adana, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I just want to go back and just state our outcomes. So I hope that you all left with actionable steps to create united, inclusive, and mentally supportive environments, because that was our goal for today by understanding how inclusivity and wellness reinforces each other. And you all should have gained tools to foster that resilience and well-being for yourself and your team.
All right, thanks everyone, have a great evening. Bye.
I'm, I'm trying to stop.